What if the calendar on your wall wasn't just for tracking days? What if, for one family, it was a terrifying countdown, not to a holiday, but to a night of absolute unexplainable pain? Imagine your child waking up with strange circular burns on her skin wounds that appear with the chilling precision of the lunar cycle. This is the story of a 12-year-old girl and the lunar clockwork of terror that haunted her family, forcing them to question everything they thought they knew about the rational world. In a bustling city in India, there lived a family that was the picture of modern progress. They were educated, respected, and believed firmly in science and logic. Their world was built on textbooks, reason, and things you could prove. Superstitions and old folklore, that was just stuff you read about, not something you'd ever actually experience. Their bright, happy 12-year-old daughter was the center of their world, her life filled with school, friends, and endless possibilities. They lived in a reality of cause and effect. If you got sick, you saw a doctor. If the car broke down, you called a mechanic. Every problem had a logical solution just waiting to be found. They were a completely normal, modern family, but their comfortable world was about to be shattered by something that defied all logic. Something that felt like it crawled straight out of the folklore they'd always dismissed. Their faith in a predictable world was about to be put to the test by an affliction that followed the silent, ancient rhythm of the moon. The terror began quietly, almost innocently, on a pitch-black night. It was Amavasya, the new moon, a time when the sky is moonless. In Hindu folklore, it's a night often linked with a spike in unseen energies, when the veil between worlds is said to be at its thinnest. The family, of course, didn't pay attention to things like that. It was just another night, until their daughter woke up screaming. There on her forehead was a single, perfectly circular, angry red mark. It was about the size of a coin, with raised edges and a sunken middle. It looked exactly like a fresh cigarette burn. Panic quickly turned to confusion. How could this have happened? She hadn't been near anything hot. There was just no logical explanation. They treated the strange wound, calmed down their daughter, and tried to forget it as a bizarre, one-time thing. A day later, just as mysteriously as it appeared, the mark faded away, leaving no scar, only a deep sense of unease. Life went back to normal for about a month. Then, like clockwork, on the very next Amavasya, it happened again. The same mark, in the exact same spot, appeared while she slept. The family's unease exploded into pure fear. This wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. A horrifying, supernatural calendar had been set. Every 29 days, when the moon vanished from the sky, their daughter was being branded by some unseen force. Along with the burns, a terrible weakness would wash over her, and she started having the same recurring nightmare. A blurry man with a slow, deep voice, telling her to give me your hand and come with me. There's nothing kept in this world. Grounded in their rational beliefs, the family turned to the one place they trusted: medical science. They went from local doctors to specialists, and finally, the story goes, they landed an appointment at the prestigious Apollo Hospital in Ranchi. They were desperate for a diagnosis, a syndrome, anything that could explain their daughter's horribly predictable torment. The doctors were thorough. They ran every test they could think of, conducted examinations, and listened to the family's story. But the results were always the same: nothing. There was no skin condition, no allergy, no disease that could cause such specific, recurring burns. Some doctors might consider psychosomatic conditions like dermatitis artifacta, where a patient unconsciously self-inflicts injuries due to psychological distress. But the family was certain their daughter wasn't doing this to herself. The marks would appear while she slept, sometimes right in front of them. Faced with something they couldn't explain, the medical community grew dismissive. The family's story was met with skepticism, even ridicule. They were left with no answers, no treatment, and no hope from the world of medicine they had trusted their entire lives. Then, the terror got worse. During one particularly awful Amavasya night, the girl had a violent episode. Her family watched in horror as she showed a strength that seemed impossible for a small child. They struggled to uncurl her clenched fist, and when they finally did, they found it filled with over 20 sharp, vertical cuts, like they'd been made with a razor blade. As they stared in shock, the telltale circular burn bloomed on her forehead, right before their very eyes. Science had failed them. Their daughter was being physically attacked, and their reality had been torn to pieces. Every conventional option had failed. Their faith in modern medicine was gone, replaced by a raw, primal fear. When every logical door slams shut in your face, where do you go? For this family, the answer was a place they would have laughed at just months before, a place steeped in the very traditions they had been taught to dismiss. They turned to the occult. Their desperation took them to Therapith, a temple in West Bengal famous throughout India. Therapith isn't just a place of worship. It's one of the most powerful sites for tantric practices, a Siddha Pitha, place of immense spiritual energy where exorcisms are said to happen. The atmosphere there is a world away from a sterile hospital. It's thick with the smell of incense and marigolds, the sound of ringing bells and chanted mantras, and an undercurrent of ancient power you can feel in the air. The family, looking completely out of place in their modern city clothes, found themselves in this epicenter of ancient belief, looking for an occult practitioner, a Baba. They told him their story, no longer afraid of being ridiculed, just praying someone would believe them. They showed him the photos, described the lunar cycle of the attacks, the nightmare, and the horrifying cuts. The man listened intently, his focus not on medical charts, but on something unseen, something he seemed to understand. The exorcist didn't give them a medical diagnosis. He gave them a terrifying story. He claimed the girl's ordeal began 2 years earlier when she unknowingly stepped on a sacred object tied to a demonic entity, accidentally angering it. The demon, now disturbed, had latched onto her. He explained that Amavasya, the darkest night of the month, is when these negative energies are at their most powerful. It's a time that allows them to manifest in the physical world. The burn on the girl's forehead wasn't just a wound, it was a brand, a mark of ownership. The demon was trying to claim her soul, and this was its signature. The recurring nightmare was its way of wearing her down, a psychological attack to convince her to willingly come with it. And the cuts on her palm? The exorcist told them that was the most dangerous sign of all. They were self-inflicted, but not by the girl. It was her own soul fighting back so violently against the entity's attempt at full possession that it was physically tearing her apart. The solution, he said, wasn't medicine. It was ritual. An exorcism was the only way to sever the demon's connection and protect her. Before we get to what happened next, just think for a second. After months of this torment, after every scientific and medical expert had failed you, what would you do? Would you put your child's life in the hands of an exorcist? Let us know what you think in the comments. For the family, there wasn't really a choice. They agreed to the ancient rites. The exorcist performed his rituals, a series of chants and offerings meant to banish the entity. He then gave the girl a protective talisman to wear at all times, a simple red string locket with a piece of consecrated bronze inside. He warned them that the entity was gone, but the talisman was her shield. And then, nothing. The next Amavasya came. The family held their breath, their nerves completely shot. But there were no screams. No new burn appeared. The nightmares stopped. The strange weakness was gone. The lunar clock of terror had finally stopped ticking. For the family, the nightmare was over. Their daughter was free. This story leaves us right on the edge of two different worlds. Was this a real case of demonic possession? A terrifying reality that exists just outside our understanding, that was banished by ancient rituals? Or was it a profound and truly disturbing psychosomatic episode, a mental affliction so powerful it could create physical wounds that was soothed by the sheer power of belief and ritual? We may never know for sure, but the story is a chilling reminder that there are corners of this world where the lines between science, psychology, and the supernatural get incredibly blurry. Thank you for watching. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button, subscribe for more unsettling stories, and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next upload. Stay safe and question everything.